Hello, I'm Brian Barboza, your local bankruptcy attorney, and today we're going to talk about what is Chapter 7 and how does it work. So before we get started, if you want to discuss bankruptcy in greater depth or you want to know a little bit more about bankruptcy, feel free to go to my website, barbozalaw.com. There's a lot of good free information. You can also book an appointment directly with me through my website. So at my website, you can schedule an appointment with me. So what is Chapter 7 and how does it work? So Chapter 7 bankruptcy is a certain type of bankruptcy case. Oftentimes most people conceptualize Chapter 7 when they think of bankruptcy. Chapter 7 is sometimes referred to as the fresh start bankruptcy. What happens with the Chapter 7 is you file the petition with the bankruptcy court. The Chapter 7 is then open. There is what's called a bankruptcy trustee assigned to be the administrator of the bankruptcy case. During the bankruptcy case, that trustee is in charge of your property, and the trustee also serves a couple other functions, which we'll briefly talk about in a second. So you file the case. The requirements to file are you have to basically file a ton of forms with a lot of financial information and disclosures. You're going to file what's called the petition, and then with the petition, you're going to file what are called schedules, and the schedules are alphabetical. It's an A, Schedule A, all the way through a Schedule J, and we're talking about listing things like real estate, personal property, your secured creditors, your unsecured creditors, your income, and your expenses. In addition, you're going to have to file what's called a Statement of Financial Affairs, and this is basically a laundry list of financial questions that need to be answered. Now, all those questions do have legal significance, so it's important you understand why the question's being asked and that you answer the questions carefully. In addition, with the Chapter 7, there's what's called we call a means test. That is to determine if, based on your income, if it's presumptively an abuse for you to be qualified to file for Chapter 7 because you have too much income and you should be doing another type of bankruptcy, like a Chapter 13, where you can pay your debts. But if you do qualify under the means test for Chapter 7, then that's one step closer to getting your discharge. So all of those documents are going to be filed the day you file the case, and then the court will set what's called a meeting of creditors. Sometimes it's referred to as a 341 hearing or 341 meeting or just a meeting of creditors. The trustee is going to be the one that conducts the meeting of creditors. It's not the judge, it's the trustee. And the trustee is going to swear you in. You're going to give testimony under oath. It's somewhat of an informal setting, but even though it's an informal setting, you will be testifying as if it's a court of law, and your testimony could be used against you in any subsequent hearings. So it's important that you're prepared for that hearing, and it's important that you answer the question truthfully and honestly. As I mentioned earlier, the trustee serves a couple different roles, and one of the reasons the trustee is going to conduct this hearing is he or she will be doing a little mini investigation to make sure that there are no red flags of potential fraud or criminal behavior. They make sure that all the information in the forms are true, accurate, and correct, and that's something that they do care about. However, they also care about whether or not you own any assets that they can take and can liquidate and then pay some money over to your creditors. So the bankruptcy trustee's job is to try to get some money back into the pockets of your creditors. My job as a bankruptcy attorney is to exempt, that's a fancy way of saying protect, as much property as you can protect in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy case. And then the trustee, if there's anything that's not exempt, maybe it's too great in value or it's just a certain type of property that you can't exempt, the trustee could then take that property and liquidate it and then pay the money to the creditors. Oftentimes, there is nothing for the trustee to take, but once in a while, there may be an asset that's just too great in value or outside the scope of what you're allowed to protect. After your meeting of creditors is concluded, which is about a month after you file, then in a typical Chapter 7, you don't want anything to happen. No news is good news. there's about a 60-day waiting period between your hearing and the time in which the judge will issue an order declaring that you are discharged of your debts. And that 60-day window gives your creditors an opportunity to object to your bankruptcy or to object to the discharge of the debt you owe to them specifically. And it gives the trustee of your bankruptcy time to look over the case as well to see if there's any issues that the trustee should be raising. So as I always tell my clients, no news is good news. You don't want anything to happen after the 341 hearing. So long as there's no objections to your case, there is also a what's called a financial management class you have to take. It's about an hour long. It's on the internet, not a big deal, but you do have to get a certificate showing you completed that class, and that needs to be filed with the court timely. As long as you've done those things, your case should be concluded about 90 days in total from the time you filed to the time the case ends. It's going to be somewhat anticlimactic. The judge will issue the order declaring that you are discharged of all debts that you are legally able to discharge in Chapter 7. That discharge order from the court will be mailed out to you and to all your creditors, and then the case should close a few days after that. So that's it in a nutshell as far as Chapter 7. I will do another video about what Chapter 13 is and what Chapter 11 is another day. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your time. And again, if you want to talk about bankruptcy or you want to schedule an appointment with me, just go to my website, barbozalaw.com. I would be happy to talk with you about your financial situation. Okay, take care. Thanks.